Hey guys, welcome back to my channel again. My name is Arsalan and today we are on day 49th of solving the Python object-oriented programming system questions. So there is one more question we will be solving on today based on hybrid inheritance. So this question is based on hybrid inheritance. Let me write it: hybrid inheritance. And guys, just before starting with this tutorial, let me give you a very brief introduction of what this playlist is all about. So in this playlist, we have been solving questions based on object-oriented programming. We started from a very basic idea, very basic questions on day 1. Then we move on to day 2, day 3, day 4, and so on and so forth. Then we solve on each day we solve different type of questions, and today we will be solving one more different question based on hybrid inheritance. So just before starting with this tutorial, please do subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, press the bell icon button and bookmark the playlist so that you can get the updates from the channel. So let's start this tutorial, and first of all we have to create a class called device with attributes name and manufacturer. Implement a method called displayInfo that prints out the name and manufacturer of the device. So simply what we will be doing here, first of all we will be creating a parent class, and the name of the parent class is device as already written in the question, and then we will be defining some instance attribute which includes manufacturer and name. So these are two instance attributes, manufacturer, and after this we will be simply writing name dot self dot name is equals to name, and self dot manufacturer facturer is equals to manufacturer. And after this we have to create a method called def display info. In this method it will be just simply displaying the info about the device. So it will be saying what it will be saying, it will be saying that uh, print two values. First of all it will be printing name, and name is self dot device self dot device, and I have to take a f string here of course, and then I will be printing one more value here which will be taking self dot manufacturer, and I will be replacing this name with manufacturer starting with a capital M. And after this we have to move on to paragraph 2 and see what they are asking us next to do. So create a child class called computer that inherits from the device class. So we have to create a child class that is called computer that inherits from the device class. Add an additional attribute CPU to the computer class. Implement a method called display specs that calls the display info method and prints out the CPU specification. So let's do this. So what we have to do, we have to create a child class called what was the name of the child class? Called computer. And in this child class, first of all we will be writing the name of the child class computer, and we will be closing it by parenthesis since it's a child class. And in those parentheses we have to write the name of the parent class. So the name of the parent class is device, and after this we will be just after this what we will be doing, we will be just defining the instance attributes. So as we have already done it before, that we will be not taking super init here anymore. Why we will be not taking? We have already discussed that when we will be just doing hybrid inheritance, we have a concept called multi-level inheritance too. So sorry, multiple inheritance too, where it takes two or more classes. It inherits from two or more classes, right? As we have already discussed in our previous tutorial, that while we do hybrid inheritance, we just take the name of the class directly. Why we do that? Because while in this as you can see here, we are inheriting from two. In our grandchild we are inheriting from two different parent class, bird and mammal. So while we just doing this, as you can see that it is taking multiple similar like species species, bird has also species, and an mammal has also species. So while we write this bird dot init self species, it understand, the program understand that it is inheriting from species. All right. And if you will not write this, if you use the super init function, it will be getting confused that which species attribute we are talking about. So it can get confused between bird and mammal. Both have a species attribute, so it will be getting confused which of the attribute we are using, and it has init also, so it will be getting confused at which init function we have to use. It has to use so we, instead of this, we write directly the name of the parent class. So the name of the parent class is device, as we have understand and did a question based on this. So as you can see that we write that directly the name of the parent class, that is uh, animal, instead of writing super. Alright, so we can do this like this as well. So it takes name and manufacturer, and it also takes an additional attribute, add an additional attribute CPU to the computer class. So we have to introduce one more attribute, that is CPU, and self dot CPU is equals to CPU. This is our additional attribute, and after this, implement a method called display specs. So we have to introduce a method called display specs that calls the display info method and prints out the CPU specification. All right, so let's do this. So what we will be doing, we will be creating a method called def display specs, and in this method it will be calling which, it will be calling us device method. So it will be just calling device dot display info, or you can use self dot display info. All right, so while we write this self dot display info, it will be just calling this method display info. Moreover, we have to do one more thing here, that we have to just display a method and prints out the CPU specification. So we will be printing a value here that will be showing us the specification of CPU. So specification, I will be writing CPU. I will be using capital CPU and putting specification, SPICIFICATION, specifications, and putting a colon here, and after this we will be writing in curly braces self dot CPU. In this it will be taking the specification of the CPU. All right, so implement a method called display spec that calls a display info method and prints out the CPU specification. So all right, what we have to do, we have to implement a method called display specs. So we have written the specs method, and in this method we have to introduce two things. First of all, we have to give the method, we have to recall the method called display info, which was introduced in a device method, the device class, and then we have to print one more thing, that is CPU specifications, and this CPU attribute takes the specifications. So we have done the paragraph number 2 as well. So now create a class, child class called phone, that also inherits from the device class. Add an additional attribute OS to the phone class. Implement a method called display info that prints out the name, manufacturer, and operating system. So OS mean operating system. So what we will be doing here is we'll be creating a child class again, and this child class is phone, and we will be writing class phone and closing by parenthesis, and inside those parentheses we will be writing the name of the parent class, that is device, and we will be using def init function again, and the moment I will be pressing enter, I will be getting again a super init function. So we will be not using super init function here, as I have already discussed it why we will be not using, and instead of this, you will be using the name of the parent class. So the name of the parent class is device. So we will be using the name of the parent class is device. And one thing I will be just improving here is that I will be just removing a from here. That is not the correct spelling of computer here. And then after this, I am saying that I have two attributes, name and manufacturer. It will be taking one more attribute here that will be only belonging to phone class, that is self.os is equals to OS, that is our operating system. And if we have to create a method called display info again, and this display info method will be very different from the one which we have created in our parent class. So however, they have same name, but when we write it here, it will be just overriding. All right, so display info, and in this display info method, what we will be doing here is we will be just implementing the method called display info that prints out the device name, manufacturer, and operating system. So what we can do here is we can, in display info method, we will be just writing self.display info, self.display info. So it will be giving me the name and manufacturer. We have to take three things, right? So implement a method called display info that prints out the device name, manufacturer, and operating system. So why we have called this? Because this display info method will be taking will be giving us the name and manufacturer, and one more thing we will be adding here is that will be our operating system. So we will be using again a f string here, and we will be writing operating system, and self.os will be our self.os will be our input here in our curly braces. Now we have done our third paragraph too. Now let's create a grandchild class called smartphone. So we will be just copying it here, and that inherits from both the computer and phone class. Add an additional attribute called camera resolution to a smartphone class. So let's do this class step by step. So grandchild, and its name is smartphone, and we will be writing smartphone and closing it by parenthesis. Now its parents is it has two parents. So first of all, it has a parent called computer, and second parent is phone. So it has two attributes. It will be taking two parameters. First it will be taking computer, and second it will be taking phone. Why it will be taking two parameters? First, because it is inheriting from two different classes. So it has two parents. First of all, it has a computer, and second it has a phone. And after this, I will be again creating a def init here, and the moment I will be pressing enter here, you will be seeing that I am getting name, manufacturer, and CPU. I'm not getting OS from our phone class. So what we will be doing here is we will be just removing super from here, and we will be just writing the name of this. So let's copy this part here, and I will be just simply pasting it here. Where? Here. I will be simply pasting it here, and this is our phone. So I will be writing phone dot init. All right, phone dot init, and similarly I will be just putting OS here as well, and it won't be showing me error for anymore, since it was showing me an error here. So I will be just doing it for our computer too. So let's copy this whole thing here, and then I will be just writing computer dot and pasting it. And as you can see, I have five attributes, four attributes in fact: name, manufacturer, CPU, and OS. So name and manufacturer belongs to our parent class device, and then CPU belongs to our computer class, and OS belongs to our phone class. One more thing we will be just rectifying here, that we forgot to put self here in our computer class, and we'll be just writing self here and self here too. And after this, what we will be doing, we will be creating add an additional attribute called camera resolution. So we have to introduce one more attribute called camera resolution. So camera resolution is our another method, another attribute. So we will be writing self dot camera resolution is equals to camera resolution, and after this we will be just seeing what they are asking us next, and add an additional attribute called camera resolution to the smartphone class. Implement a method called display details. So we have to create a method called display details that calls the display specs method from the computer class and prints out the camera resolution and the OS from the phone class. So let's create a method called display details. In this method we have to take, first of all, implement a method called display detail that calls the display specs method. So I will be just calling this method, and after this method we will just doing step by step. So first of all, let's call this method and closing it by parenthesis since it's a method. And after this, display specs is a method of our computer class as we have created it here. So it will be calling what? It will be calling us display info method and also value of CPU specification. And one more thing we will be adding here is add and prints out the camera resolution and OS from the phone class. So we will be writing here uh, for operating system we can just simply print f string, and I will be writing operating system, and I will be writing self dot operating, self dot os, and after this I will be also printing one more thing here, that is camera resolution. So I will be putting camera resolution will be our self dot camera resolution. So we have created a method called display details that covers all the methods and all the functionality from which we have created, in which we have created our computer, phone, and also device. So it includes all the things. So let's create an instance and check out how it's working. So first of all, let's create an instance here. First of all, let's create an instance for device. So let's create an instance for device. So let's say a is equals to device. It will be taking two parameters. First of all, it will be taking name. So let's say a is the name and manufacturer is a manufacturer. So let's say a manufacturer. So simply I will be writing a dot display info and I will be just closing it by parenthesis and run the code. So as you can see, it's giving me an error. So it's saying device object has no attribute device. Let's see what is the method, what is the so let's see where the error is coming up here. Device, let's run it and see where it is coming. So I am doing it here because you can know how to just fix the bugs and error from the code. So it is in self name self dot device. So it is somewhere self name. Okay, so here it's the we instead of device we will be just writing name here. While we have written device. So yeah, so now it will be running. So I did it live. I will be not cutting this part because you can know that how to fix the error. So while we because we all face error and bugs. As you can see, a is name. Instead of a I will be writing name a and manufacturer a. Let's put it like this so it's more readable, and I will be just writing name a and name a and manufacturer a. After this I will be creating an instance for our computer class. So let's create an instance for computer class. So let's say b is equals to computer, and in this now it will be taking three attributes. So first of all it's name and then manufacturer and then it's a CPU specification. All right, so I will be not writing CC specification, you can write it, but I will be just writing CPU specification. Like I will be writing name B and manufacturer B, and after this I will be printing writing one more value here, that is CPU specification. So I will be writing B CPU specifications. You can write specifications n number of specification you want. You can write the processor, you can write RAM, ROM, anything you wish to, but I'm just simply writing CPU specification, and I will be writing CPU specification for B. Now run this, and simply I will be getting also I have to print this value, so b dot display specs, and now it will be just giving me name, manufacturer B, and specification. As you can see, let's print a space here in between, print a space here, 2-3 line spaces, so we can just separate them. Yeah, as you can see, name B, manufacturer B, and specification, CPU specification for B. You can write it anything. Now let's create an instance for creating an instance for phone. So step by step, I'm creating each individual instance, and now I am focusing on each individual instance, because we have to understand how this instance are created as well, and how the structure of instance works. So I am focusing on that too. So I know that many of you might get confused in creating the instance. That's why I'm focusing on this, because you don't understand, most of us will be not understanding how many attributes you have to take, how many instance, how where to put the parentheses, in what is attributes, what are functions. So I'm just creating instance, that when we create instance, we will be having a better idea of how instances are created, and where to put brackets, and how many attributes, how many parameters we have to take. So as you can see, in computer class we have taken 3 attributes, right? Name B, manufacturer B, and CPU specification for B. However, in device we have taken only 2. Why we have taken only 2? Because as you can see, in computer device it takes only in device you can see that it takes name and manufacturer. However, in computer class it takes three attributes. First it's take name, second manufacturer, and CPU. That's why we are taking 3 here. Similarly, it will be taking for phone we will be taking 3, and in this I will be taking name C and manufacturer C. Let's copy this. Why we are writing it again. Copy this, and I will be writing manufacturer C, and now it takes operating system. So let's say it is Windows operating system. So Windows is the operating system, Windows OS, and I will be just writing display C dot display info, and the moment I will be running this, you can see what I am getting. So I am getting an error. So maximum recursion depth exceed. So let's see what's the error coming up here. So display device, and then it's saying that self dot display info. So the error should be here because of the name. So if I just change a name a bit, like info or like this, and if I run this, it might work. Let's see if it's working or not. See, it's working. So it was creating an error because of the same name. We have created a name in the device name as well, and then we have created here as well, and then we are using the same method here as well. So it was showing an error called recursion. Recursion means it was not it was just running it again and again, and it was not able to identify. So if I just write display info, or I can write display info C, and just change it here a bit, and the moment I will be just putting C here and run this, and I will be just using print again, blank print again, so that I can just see the separation. See, it's working. Name C, manufacturer C, and operating system Windows OS. I hope that you have understood this, right? Now let's create our last grandchild class. So grandchild class, create a grandchild class, which is our smartphone. So smartphone is our grandchild. So create a class, create an instance for a smartphone. So let's say D is equals to smartphone and close it by parentheses. Now let's write in the comment section. Before I do it, let's write it on your own that how many attributes it will be taking. So I will be just waiting it for a minute or 30 seconds, you can say, and then I will be answering it that how many attributes it will be taking. So a smartphone is our grandchild, and after this it will be taking some attributes, some number of attributes. So how many attributes it will be taking, you have to write it down in the comment section that how many attributes it will be taking. So let's see how many of you have answered it correctly. I will be giving a like, and I will be giving a heart for those who have written the answer or even they have tried to answer. So it will be taking 1 2 3 4 5. So simply it's 5 attributes it will be taking. First of all, its name, then manufacturer, then CPU, then OS, then camera resolution. So it will be taking all the attributes which we have defined earlier, and moreover it will be taking one more, that is camera resolution. So let's write name D, then write manufacturer D, manufacturer D, and then we have what, we have CPU, then OS, CPU specification it will be taking. So I will be writing CPU specifications. So CPU specification for D, and then it will be taking operating system. So let's say it's Linux this time for smartphone, and or we can write, instead of this I can write operating system as Mac OS. And then after this Mac OS, let it be Windows only, or we can say Android. Android should work. Android, it's a smartphone, so it should work for Android. Now after this I have to take one more attribute, that is camera resolution. So let's say it is 32 megapixels. So 32 megapixels the camera resolution. So after this I will be just writing d dot display details, and just put the close it by parenthesis and simply run this now. And I will be putting some spaces here before I run this. So let's put some spaces here before I run this. So just run it now. So as you can see, name D, manufacturer D, CPU specification for D, operating system is Android, and camera resolution is 32 megapixels. So I hope that you were able to understand this question, and you were able to follow the method which I have applied, and you were able to just apply the number of and instances I have created, and how many attributes you have to take for each individual instances we have created. So I hope that you have liked this tutorial and you are just understanding the logic of operating object-oriented programming system. So this was all for today on 49th. I hope that you have just enjoyed doing this. So how many of you are just enjoying this tutorial? Please comment down in the comment section that I am enjoying. And this was all for today. I hope you guys will be liking my video and commenting down and subscribing to my channel. Thank you guys for watching this video, and see you next time.